Hey everybody, Ghost Mill here, and welcome back to my channel, Everyday Backpacker. Now, if you've been watching the channel for any period of time, you're well aware that I am getting ready for a really big trip, and I have been spending the last few months getting all of my gear and food together. And so I've definitely been in a gear-centric frame of mind. And because I've been hyper-focused on gear lately, I've kind of been paying attention to how a lot of the gear discussions go, and it seems like we are very highly aware of things like, I don't know, tents, what kind of shoes we're bringing. These are my new shoes for the trip. Favorite foods, packs, sleeping quilts, technology, all of that big stuff that always seems to make the top 10 list. But there's a lot of really important gear out there that is relatively small and often overlooked in the gear-centric community. Now, there's a lot of small pieces of equipment in the backpacking world that people use that oftentimes get overlooked. Simple things such as stuff sacks, bags for tents or sleeping bags, tent stake bags, food bags, all these kind of things that we need to carry our stuff in, but generally we don't really think about a whole lot. Now, if you're an old school backpacker like I am, you've probably used any number of 1,000 freezer Ziploc bags in your pursuits as a backpacker. These work really well. You know, they're pretty lightweight, they're fairly durable, and you know, they have a Ziploc closure and you can kind of see what's going on with them. But if you are also like me and you are wanting to get away from single-use plastics as much as you can, there are some downsides to the Ziploc baggies. Yeah, they are inexpensive, but generally speaking, they only last a few trips and they have to be replaced. And, you know, they're made out of plastics which are not reusable. And so they do have a little bit of an imprint. And I like to decrease that as much as I can. So I was looking for alternatives to replace my tried and true Ziploc baggies. And recently, my good buddy Devin over at Backcountry Exposure started up his own business making exactly that. Small bags and organizers for different use in the backcountry, made out of different materials that are all 100% recycled materials, as well as being 100% PFAS free. And if you've watched anything in the outdoor realm, you probably have heard PFAS come up once or twice recently. And so even though these items are small, these are some of the favorite new equipment that I'm going to be taking with me on my big journey coming up in just under 2 weeks. I hope I'm ready. These should help. So for those of you that don't know, Devin is a YouTube creator and a pretty big figure in this little community we have of outdoor backcountry creators. And he used to work in the industry. He worked with fabrics when he worked for Waymark Gear Company. And so he recently decided to kind of start his own line of backcountry accessories and storage bags for the average everyday backpacker. And because Devin is a friend of mine and I really wanted to support him, and because I found out that his stuff is really awesome, I went ahead and purchased some items. The first item that I got is my first aid pouch. This is just a simple pouch with a heavy-duty zipper. And inside of that goes my first aid kit and items that I need to keep me from falling apart in the backcountry, which is a pretty big task these days since I'm in my middle age. But this bag here retails on his website for $17, and this particular one is made out of a material called Ultra Grid. Now, Ultra Grid is a ripstop nylon. It's a 210 denier, and it has a double weave of ripstop in it, making this thing really tough. Now, this one is a little bit heavier than some of the other materials you use, which I'll show here in a minute. But, you know, if you were looking for something that is a little bit tougher, it's still fairly light, and in this case, it comes in a lot more colors. This material can have a lot more colors made with it, and so having a brighter material to kind of denote this as an emergency item is kind of important. And the second item I'm going to be bringing is the little Diddy bag. Now, these also come in a larger size. The little Diddy bags retail at $20. The larger ones are $22. And these bags are really awesome. Again, lightweight material, really tough zipper. And then this one also has a, I don't know the technical term for it, but it is a flat bottom so that it can sit upright make it easier to get things in and out of them. He also has some simpler ones that have just a regular sewn bottom on the on it, but this one does have that flat bottom, which is pretty handy. And this one is made out of a material called Ultra TX70. And so this one is a 3-layer laminate 70 denier polyester. So again, very similar to like a Dyneema type material, definitely lighter, not quite as durable as the Ultra Grid, but still pretty tough stuff. And, you know, and comparable to the weight of a Ziploc bag, but definitely going to last longer and just better made. Now, if you're somebody like me that gets really confused by all the different materials that are out there and trying to figure out which ones are the right ones for you, if you go over to his website, backcountryexposure.com, he has a very easy to read drop down on all items that says which material is best for you. And it clearly goes through all the different materials and the pluses and minuses with those, and really made it easy to decide which ones to get. And the last item I recently got was this stake bag holder. So the stake bag that my tent came with was generally just a drawstring one, and it worked pretty well, but I've had some issues with drawstring type bags with tent stakes before, because it seems like they tend to dump stakes everywhere. This one has a fold over top, which makes it a little bit easier to get a tent stake out without pulling every single one out. And then the rest of them stay in there pretty well, even if it's not completely closed. So again, just a simple design change, but makes a lot of sense, makes things a little bit easier. And this one is also made out of the, Ultra Good material. I feel like anything that's holding tent stakes in it needs to be a little bit tougher. And so this one is that. And then also, who doesn't love that avocado color? Because if you're like me, one of the easiest things to set aside and lose is your tent bag, your tent stake bag. So this one sticks out a little bit. So yeah, that's why I went with the avocado, but also because it's a pretty sweet color. And so those are just the items that I currently have, but he makes several other types of items out there. He does make food bags. I don't use a food bag because I use the bear can. So I probably might get one later on because, you know, if I ever go someplace that doesn't have grizzlies, I probably would use it. He also has packing cubes, which are pretty handy, and a couple other varieties of different pouches. And then things like ultralight wallets. And he also sells a couple other items, accessories like titanium spoons. And then you can also get my favorite food company there on his website, which is the Trail Goods Company. You can buy their food on his website as well. So if you are interested in any of those kind of items, I definitely recommend you go check out his website. If you want, there is a link in the description of this video below, because I am an affiliate member. Devin asked me if I wanted to be one. I said absolutely. So if you go to that link in my description, you can go ahead and buy through that, and it'll give you a 10% discount, as well as helps me out a little bit. So I definitely recommend it. Go over, check his stuff out. Great stuff, great guy. All of it is handmade in Utah, so it's US made stuff, and I do not think you'll be disappointed. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comments below. And as always, keep hiking on.